watching STV. Select for fun.
Gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining us. It is a very cold, rainy morning. It is a Monday, the 16th of November 2020. Welcome to the first show, and we are counting down just 46 days to the end of 2020. A year that began with lots of expectations, but now it turned out to be a dark place for so many of us to live. Meanwhile, being a Monday, we do welcome you back from that long weekend. We promised you on Friday that on a day like this, we'll be coming back to take you through for what we call the amazing first show that informs you on all the information you need before you do start your day. Gwachali waka, manyante nkube etonya wabweru, tenkukubirizo zukuke. The sweeter the bait, the darker the future. My name is Simon Chris Makanga. As usual, I am with.
Well, a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Latifah, Hamid, and I woke up this morning, it was raining outside, I was in bed, and I thought to myself, do I have to get out of bed to go to work? Can I just stay in and sleep? And the answer was no. Truth is, it's very fun staying in bed and sleeping in the room and pretending you're not feeling well in the morning. But here's the question. What happens on the rest of your day when you're stuck in your house? So you decided to be there because it's raining and you're working for someone else. You haven't gotten to the point where you work for yourself, and then you're telling yourself it's raining and won't go to work. So you will stay at home the whole day and that day is dead. Here's the thing. Nobody should tell you that rain will make you melt. So the thing about life is, if you don't work hard, then life will be hard. So wake up every morning, put a smile on your face, start your day with positivity, prayers, and go ahead and have an amazing day. Welcome to the first show, and thank you for joining us. Remember, our platforms are available. You can join us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, especially Facebook. We'll be engaging with you and tell us what it is your opinions are about the topics we'll be discussing on this show. My name is Latifah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bana Uganda mwenamba la msizako. Ensula gye mwasuzeemu nsaba Mukama abeere ensuubira nti Mukama yawusiza bulungi era nga tukedde bulungi nga kuba kakatonya era ziba baraka okuva eri Mungu. Saba Mungu abeere nga atuggulirawo ffenna atumalire wetaavu bwaffe. Amanya Tarik Nkata nange nyogolwa kubanga mbalamusaako era nga mbasiima bonna babeerako kubanga mutugoberera. Kyabbeeyo okuba nti okukeera ku STV n'obeera ng'oggula obwongo ng'omanya biki byatambudde mu ggwanga kubanga ffe tuwayo kuba tubaweereza emisayi mito tukyalina amaanyi bavuze kyali mingi n'obwongo bukola yabo tubasunsulira ensonga tuzibatemerete tubalage biki ebyatambudde mu ggwanga naye nga kyabbeeyo okuba nti nno osituka. Simon Chris alina akagambo kaagambye nti buli kasa bwongera okuwooma
The sweeter the bait, the darker the future.
Buli kasa bwongera okuwooma then n'obulamu obw'omu maaso bujjamu ate ekizikiza era bubeera buzibu nnyo. So tusituke obwavu mpologoma tugende tuyiiye tutetenkanye naye era nnyongera okubiza abazadde nze buli ntambula ku makya nga nzija wano ku STV nsanga abaana bangi abatambula bagenda ku masomero naye banaye abazadde tufe ku baana baffe. Abaana abo tebazalira ggwanga tebazalira kyobula mwana wuwo teri yakutuma kumuzaala wabula weeyagala okuba nti omuzaala ate kyakkiriza okuba nti nno obuvunaanyizibwa bwo ng'omuzadde bwe tukulabira ddala oli musajja oba oli mukyala oli muzadde otengeredde bwe kuba nti omwana wo alabika bulungi. Abazadde bangi tulina emize twambala amasuti twambala amakooti netusula mu bitanda zidabo zibbeedi mazo naye bwetuuka abaana gye basula nga bona busula wansi bwebika bisuukasuuka. So kyabbeeyo okuba nti nga gwe kyofaanana era kyoli kyoyagala okuba nti obeera era kyobeeramu n'omwana naye akibeere. So n'omwana nga gwe oyambala raincoat n'omwana naye gimugulire weyambala essuuti naye omwana naye mugulire ekijaketi abeere ng'akyeteekako. Obwana bungi butambula mu budde buno bw'enkuba naye nga bwami tebwamuddayo n'akasweta. So tufe ku baana baffe kuba abaana ab'enkya abaganda bagamba olukola luyonka abaana baalo nkya ogenda kwagala okumuyonka naye onooyonka ki nga tokitaddeemu. Tulabire abaana abo tubeere nga naffe beeyagala mu maaso gye bujja. Simon Chris.
Yes, it's a good morning.
Eva to complaining.
Yeah, I'm not complaining.
Era gwe so nakubuuza nti embeera eri etya. Eva gwe to complaining ebyo birungi.
Kati kankubulira ekintu kimu. The reality is about life. Bwenzijjawo netandika complaining. Nga eriyo waliwo gwe Latifah naawe. Akangambe ne producer. Singa ntandika complaining. Mwena temugenda ki receiving kiri kimu. Latifah ayinza okuntegeera gwe oyinza okunsekerera ate oli ayinza okukola ki
lwaki nze nseka
nompamu example so kyengezaako okugamba si kirungi kaaba nnaku yo mu bantu kozi buli omu aba neyiye oyina ennaku yo naona ayina eyiye so bw'okaaba eyiyo oli ajja kugamba katonda abono byatugamba ate ye yinza n'okuba nga mbi nnyo n'okusinga n'eyange so kyolina okukola what I usually encourage my peers is that you let your knees kiss the ground and talk to the Almighty bwebanga ebintu bigenda bubi era gwe bagamba katonda abitereze bwebanga bigenda bulungi still you let your knees kiss the ground and thank the Almighty.
Nekimanyi nti nga tunakuva ku nsonga eyo gyogedde ensonga eyo nkulu kubanga bannayuganda twava nnyo ku mulamwa okimanyi nti twava kuba nti tusaba Mungu nandika okusaba ebitonde tukkiriza mu bitonde than okukkiriza mu Mungu kubanga osanga ebitonde nga bakulembeze nosanga omusajja talina school fees talina na mulimu talina kina atandika okugenda omukulembeze nti amwegayirira bambi nyamba waneeno sina na kyakulya Mungu yagabirira tuvude ku Mungu tusaba bitonde kyobanga n'abakulembeze twaladdeko pressure kateyama gavumenti yetuyambe ebintu byonna okusaba katonda ate tubisaba ani tubisaba bantu ensonga eyo gyogedde enkulu era byonna tayagala complaininga wekwata omusajja kulisi nga kyatugambye tusabe Mungu.
Wow, Latifah, how was your weekend?
Well, here's the thing. Before I talk about that, is that even when you're praying, don't let prayers be the only way out. See, God says when you leave your door open and ask me to protect you, you know, when something comes in, you're not going to say, I didn't protect you. Start by protecting yourself and then talk to me to do the rest. It's like telling God I need a job, but you're sleeping from morning to evening and you expect him to give you a job.
A miracle job.
It's not good enough. Hard work needs to be added to it. Now, my weekend was okay. I spent it with family like always. That's how I spend my weekends, and it's amazing. Because, see, one thing about family is you have all ages in there, and you get to talk to different people, the old, the young, the babies. You interact with different people, and it helps, especially in life. See, one thing about life is even when you grow up, you need to learn how not to let the kid in you die. Because if you do, then you lose the fun part in you. And when you do that, you become boring. And when you become boring, the issues in life become hard for you. And that's why some people resort to suicide in order to get away from life's problems. Because, see, when you don't know how to let the kid in you live and laugh about the bad things in life, then you resort to such things such as suicide and drug abuse. Over the weekend, I talked to a psychologist called Patricia, and she talked to me about, we're talking about the impacts of COVID-19 on mental health, and the fact that a lot of us have failed to deal with the aftermath of the lockdown and COVID-19, and the fact that we've lost our loved ones during this COVID-19 situation, and we've lost jobs. And she says the majority of Ugandans, especially the youth, have resorted to using drugs such as marijuana, and they are now using that to help them bring out the kid in them. Because, see, when you take drugs, then it makes you feel like, they call it irate.
It revamps your hope.
It makes you feel like you're floating on the ground. It makes you feel like you're okay. It makes you feel like you're okay. But that's not the solution, because it's short-lived. Even when you're addicted to drinking, it becomes an addiction and it becomes bad for you, because you use that to kill your stress. And the moment you do that, then you're losing the real gist of living life. You think that every time you have a problem, you're going to go and take drugs or drink and it will help, but that's a short-term solution to your problem.
And it's true. We have several voices of the pandemic, and my worry is that I don't know whether the government is planning something in regards to that. How are people going to survive post-COVID-19? We have COVID-19 or pandemic effects that are even worse than COVID itself. When you look at the number of people that are depressed, like Latifah says, there are quite many. And my worry is government planning something for that? Abantu abali depressed. We have people who are committing suicide. We've covered stories. We have people who are killing themselves. Loans. Oh my God. Abana bakadda ku masomero, amasomero gabanja, omuzadde agamba sina sente, balandlords babanja. People are shifting. I've received a couple of phone calls. Chris mpolaye emitwalo 3, mpolaye emitwalo 5. Ebintu nga babikasibwa bwetu. So there are quite a number of people who are going through hell. And I think there's need to plan for that. It's not so lost on me. During the lockdown, Minister wa Lands, Honorable yavaayo n'akuutira abalandirozi obutagobaki bantu mu nnyumba naye kati simanyi oba Uganda ekyali ku muggalo oba twaguvaako. I don't know whether it's a time that balandodi batandika okukasuka abantu wabweru. So literally ebintu bingi nnyo ebigenda mu maaso wano bye tulabako obulabi ebitono, but if you go and talk to different people, okay, abantu balivinga obulamu obubi ennyo nnyo.
And here's where the landlords will tell you the government is not the one that is paying our loans. So at the end of the day, why you're not paying my rent vow, and you don't blame them too. All of our landlord they also have issues, especially loan issues. Kati, you'll think they have the money and it's okay for you to stay there, but they're in the same situation as you in this COVID-19 situation. And you can't blame one on top of the other. The only thing we have to do is we all have to come to an amicable understanding.
True.
You're the landlord, I'm the one who's renting your house. Here's the thing, I can't pay my rent in a month all through, constantly half, but let's say that we finish the rent, because chasing me will not bring your rent back at the end of the day. You're chasing me with around 1 million in rent for us who are renting houses at 200,000. You're chasing me with 1 million of rent. Organize it for now.
I know. But I want to applaud National Water and Sewage Corporation. Sinalaba kunga basala abantu ku mazzi. Era bwe basinze
mpozi gy'obeera sebo mpozi gy'obeera era mwe mwesiimye abeewa bakubireko mu ngalo sebo mpozi gy'obeera
n'agamba nga tukyali ku muggalo
ne ku muzikiti w'ensaalira amazzi bagajjako twakagazzaayo.
Because what is going on is that in the COVID-19 situation, water is very important.
Yeah.
Okunava your hands and all that is very important. Negative National Water and Sewage Corporation.
Anyway,
we waste our money. It doesn't make sense.
It's a rainy season. It rained last night so heavily, and neyongera okubiriza bana Uganda. This rainy season. Thieves also take advantage. So let's stay vigilant. Kuma neighbor nga ne neighbor ne wakolachi wakukuma nti ababbi ba taking advantage. Ekironge enkuba etonya gwe ng'obulizaako, then they break into your houses.
Talk about that kuba neighbor wange Friday night ekikesa ku Saturday tetwebaka. Kutandika ne sawa nga mwenda ku makya ababbi bali neighbor wange nga bamuli bubi. Naye abasajja bajooga bajooga kubanga bayingira ng'okuba n'endundenga weebali bali ku gy'olemedeko walukoona. So abantu nga bwe tugambye mu biseera by'enkoona abantu ababbi ate tuyingira ne December gino emyezi ogimanyi gibeera mu kyama, so ababbi bangi nnyo.
But when you were talking about the rainy season, I thought you were going to call upon people to harvest water, because Tarik just said there are places where water is being cut, and I mean it's a rainy season. Ugandans need to learn the habit of harvesting water. See, when you have a tank in your home and you invest in buying a tank, when it rains, you harvest water and you keep using that, even when you, and that's water you don't pay for. There was a time the National Water and Sewage Corporation was saying they were going to tax rainy water. So at that time, when everything in Uganda needed to be taxed.
N'akaseera kano kennyini kalina engeri gye kataddewo challenge eri abakulembeze. Kubanga abantu bangi abagenda okusaba bululu mu slum areas naye okutuuka ku balonzi alina kujjamu nga taabuuka emyala. So era kati olaba nga ba incumbent ababaddeyo balina obuzibu. Era bamugamba bino kata kwe tubagamba buli kanaku kati mubiraba. Twaleko ne Dr. ne mukulu Power oyabadde mu Soroti mu Eastern eyo. Alina okubulya tuuseeko nga n'ava amatambuza bigere Moroko kuyitawo nga Moroko katawo ng'erimu abantu nga mulina kusala mugga mulamba. So abakulembeze
kekase wakati nga tuyazizaamu.
The campaign is launched on the fact that he's moving bare feet from the first to the last bit, so he's going to move like that the whole time.
Newe namuleko nga bamwadde ku bugatta yambaleko yabujjeemu.
Ezo bazimuwa kuzambala ku gundi.
No, ewaabwe eyo yennyini
mulayiza.
Ewaabwe yennyini mu Soroti mu Teeso gye yabadde. Bamwadde ku bugatta bwabadde open ayambaleko.
I didn't know Bujamu. He said he's going to launch a barefoot campaign. I didn't know launching a barefoot campaign. Keep your word. And that's one thing that we're going to miss come the end of these elections. It's like you give everything in the first bit and then after that when you get her you forget the promises you made at that time and then you just be yourself and you don't keep those promises. And that's the problem with our politicians. They come, they make promises, heaven on earth. But once they are elected, we even forget they made
They
those
said never
promises.
trust
And we
a
don't hold them
politician.
accountable.
I thought you
That's
knew
much
that.
about it. Well, that's not how we can keep going. It's not how we should keep going. We need to hold people accountable to know that when you stand in front of me and make a promise, you need to keep it. Now, if you don't keep it, come back and tell us. We were looking at a video footage in India where this politician promised, I'm going to build you guys a bridge. Not just that there, he's asking for more votes after promising a bridge. No, I'm still in the water. They were like, you promised a bridge, tell you what. So that is how we need to hold these people accountable for making promises that they don't keep.
They say the most untrusted people, untrusted people are the politicians. Era bagamba tewesiganga munabyabufuzi. Bayinza okusuubiza buli kimu naye olumala ofuna kyayagala. Anyway, the first show begins well about now. Iranga jagala kwebaza gwena yakatwiga tako nako lwalwa Monday. Iranga, it's very very cold outside there. Obo fulume nyumba ifuluma ne umbrella ne raincoat oba ne jacket biranga kweri. Na abana abadde abagenda ku masomero bambi muba dropping eko enkuba ereme bakuba. Abagamba enkuba omunaku techa naye ate munayi singa werwanako esobola okucha. Bosumula nemboze yakoza amawulire olunaku lw'eggulo ba weekend. Omukulu Kasiano Wadri aluwa member of parliament omujjukira yajja mu by-election eyaliwo mu mwaka gwa 2018 oluvannyuma lwa Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu era ng'amanyiddwa nga Bobi Wine okugenda okumuyambako campaigninga eyo nno wekyava okufuula people power political maker oba people power gyeyazaalibwa oluvannyuma lwa driver wa Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Yasini Kawuma okukubibwa amasasi agamugjawo. Akabiseera bye tubijjukira akalu kaakubwa era ne tufuna omuwanguzi yali Kasiano Wadri era n'afuuka omubaka wa parliament mu Arua. Kati nno wetwogerera ebigambo si birungi olw'ensonga omukulu wa yagamba nti balina bye bateesaako ne Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu ate ye n'abivaako kati akola bibye. Tukimanyi lwatu nti Kasiano Wadri tali mu NUP sinawa people power wabula ali mu kibiina kya General Mugisha Muntu ekya Alliance for National Transformation. Kasiano Wadri agamba akubira Bobi Wine simu tazikwata balina bye bateesaako.
Kati Kasiano Wadri ne Bobi Wine ani yeetaaga munne ku bombi.
Nonza buli omu yeetaaga munne.
I suppose no Kasiano Wadri yeetaaga Bobi Wine. Kubanga let me select kanjogere bwenti. Kasiano Wadri okuwangula by elections ezo force amanya gali gani. Bobi Wine yagenda nakola buli kimu yakola donkey work nabanga yasobola okuba nti akolera Bobi gundi Kasiano Wadri ekkuba limutuusa ku buwanguzi obwo n'okuba nti Kasiano Wadri instance yavako n'okufa kw'omukulu Yasini Kawuma eyo na Bobi Wine yasinga okufiirwa sayida Bobi Wine yafiirwa butogera kati kuki Bobi Wine Wadri yalina okuba nga yeetaaga Bobi Wine kubanga yamuyitira okuba nti yafiirwa ekisooka Bobi Wine instance eyo mennyini yavaako Bobi Wine okuba nti yasibwa n'abeera nti akubwa emiggo natuuka n'okuba nti alemala n'abeera nga atuuka n'okuba nti agenda e Bulaaya okujja nga jjanjabibwa. Ekyokubiri bw'otunyira essaawa zino eno Kasiano Wadri agamba nti baali Bobi Wine nga basibiddwa baateesa okuba nti nno bwe bavaayo bayingire ebibiina ebyali biriwo nga woolaba anti nga woolaba jema nga woolaba ZDP era ne bakkanya ku nkola eyo bagenda kukola ekyo naye Bobi Wine we baafuluma Bobi Wine alaba nga abasajja baneena balotasoba nga akolagana nabo kyeva yatondawo nuupu era mu kutondawo nuupu Kasiano Wadri agamba nti ye awo nalaba nga Bobi Wine atavudde ku mulamwa naye omusajja alina okuba nti weetengerera Bobi Wine yajja ekisookedde yajja mu bukulembeze buneeno yajja independent nalaga nti yajja talina kiba kyeyajjiramu najja nga aza okutondawo ekintu kiki engaye Bobi Wine nga yetaaga identity eyiye engaye Bobi Wine nga tagala kuba nti nno ebibiina byonna bibaddewo tulabye DP ebaddewo ebbanga lyonna naye terina kyekoze tulabe FDC ebaddewo n'empologoma yaayo era negeza okuba nti gavumenti ku bunkenke neeramu neeremererwa Bobi Wine yayagala okujja ng'ajja mu formation eyiye ng'ajja ne brand eyiye nga Bobi Wine ng'omuntu yeetunde eyiye nga ye ateekewo embeera nga yiye era olaba nga n'embeera zabadde ye ideology ejazi Bobi Wine gy'ajjiddeko tewali kibiina wano mu Uganda esaza ekiriwo ekina ideology nga Bobi Wine so kyova yalaba nga wanajja n'ayinga ekibiina kyonna tagenda ideology gy'ayagala kyayagala okuzimba nga ye tekigenda kubeera nga kirina okubeera nga kiva tunuulira ebibiina ebiri olwaleero kibiina kyekiwadde opportunity abavubuka okuba nti beeyagalira mu political beeyagala tandika ku NRM genda ku DP watukaluka ngaliwo simanya Yanga Democrats sibika sata bakubagana n'obukulembeze bwa DP ate obatwala abavuka bavayo kusaba berwanako bwerwanyi FDC wanawe wakiraba abavuka batukana okubanga bakola office yaabwe eyiwingi yaabwe abavuka nga balagana obukulembeze obuliwo obunene NRM kyekimu abavuka baga batuzibira so bwe ne yagala yokuba nti ajja n'omugigi omu ate nga asitula omugigi guno omuto niye era bano banakutwala mu kibiina kyo ebibiina byonna ebiriwe byali biriwo current nga tebiina talina wagenda kuzigusa nsonga ye kyeva agamba nti kakolewo ekintu ekikye awonze simunenya Kasiyano Wadri okuva n'agamba nti essaawa zino anenya Bobi Wine nze ndaba Kasiyano Wadri yeetaga Bobi Wine kubanga Bobi Wine yamutuusaawo ekyo kyaliko yakimutuusaako Bobi Wine tagenda kukwata simu ya Kasiyano Wadri kuki era nga amwagaza ki nga ye twalabe ekyabadde aluwa olede eri yemakka ye yamala okuba nti emuzimba kani oba Kasiyano Wadri wali wataliiko Bobi Wine ye aluwa agiina mu mikono gye.
Well, Tifa, what do you say about that?
I was looking at Bobi Wine's pictures and I was smiling. And it's what is called hope for the youth, because he's a very young man who is vying against very many older people. And he's vying in a political arena whereby we haven't seen a young man like Bobi Wine come up. We've seen him in the different political arenas. Even right now, the party flag bearers are all old. And he's the only young blood that we have. And then let's see how the political situation runs. But when you look at what Kasiyano Wadri is talking about, truthfully doesn't hold water. Because we've talked about the opposition coalition for as long as we have. And we've seen the fact that it's not going to work. We've had the history of opposition trying to form a coalition in 2016 and it refused because of the different ideologies. And truthfully, like he said, Bobi Wine's ideology is different. And it's like having water and oil and putting them in a bottle. You know what is going to happen. Each of them will stand out. And here's the problem. And nobody wants to accept that one person can lead the coalition. It's just like President Museveni is saying, I want an African nation whereby we have one president. Because all the presidents in the East African nation, or Africa as well, presidents. And when you look at people like His Excellency Museveni, in his war in 1996 when he was coming into power, he promised some people power share. Never gamba, I'm going to lead for a certain time. That's according to people like Kiza Besige. I'm going to lead for a certain time there, Mbawe, this political arena for you to lead. And it has failed to happen. So what says us that if the opposition come together, they're actually going to respect the power share, because that is what is ought to happen. When we give the mantle to Bobi Wine to start leading the opposition coalition, then the next one should be someone else. Then the next one should be someone else. There should be a power share, but it is not going to happen. And for the fact that people who have been in power for over 5 years, we complain about President Museveni, the incumbent, being there for over 6 years, but even us in the coalition, we're...
But do we have the opposition in Uganda?
The problem with opposition is Bazimba ideologies and then they don't follow the ideologies. That is the biggest problem we have. Besige is saying we want to oust President Museveni because he has been there for long. How many times have you, Besige, contended in the opposition and tried to win and you failed?
4 times.
4 times. That's too much, and I'm glad he got out this time. So we have a problem. Even DP, how many times has Mao been on? Even UPC, all the political parties. You guys have been there, you have tried, you have failed. Why don't you sit down, Mugambe? Or why? Our plan has failed. Let's have a plan B. What is the plan B? Bobi Wine, you're the young blood. You have never stood as the presidential candidate. Let's see what you have. If he fails, then you say, Nayatarina Amani, who is next? But the fact that they have failed to agree on that, Kasiyano Wadri's position in saying he doesn't want to join NUP because Bobi Wine failed to accept and go ahead with dealing with what they talked about is wrong.
I think Kasiyano is going to miss out a point. Oh, he has already missed out a point. I'm trying to analyze him as an individual. And to me, I've already said on set that a double-minded person is always unstable in his or her ways.
But if you say double-minded, some people will say Robert Tabulani was also double-minded. Because remember, according to Kasiyano Wadri, they had a conversation on what ought to be done. And then after he came out, he changed his mind.
But sobola gamandi kyabona yali double-minded. Kubanga mu kutandika yajja na ideology twagiraba. Isokera kyabona yetaga nakola kibiina. Nagamba bagenda kwera people
Linda,
power.
I was straight-
So
I was
don't
straight-
know
I was
double
straight-
minded.
I was still driving this one. Okay, let me respond to what you said. When I try to look at the opposition, the only opposition I see apparently is NUP, because it's a new party headed by somebody who was raised in the ghetto, and the ghettos that were compromised oba bali beerabirwa people abakulidde mu ghetto bamunzigota ninga government eringa yabeerabira bw'ogenda ekamocha genda ekatwe genda wano ewandegea wano Nkatanga oyinza nalowooza nti this is really in the central Uganda yutoza nakulowooza nti it is within the capital city Kampala. So abantu
genda wano nakawe mulimira.
So abantu ababeera mu ezo enzigota to me ndaba nga beerabirwa. So abantu bavuddeyo, oli avuddeyo, government temanyi how he grew up, tamanyi how he has maneuvered to make a living in the ghetto. So apparently he's one kind of a person that cannot be convinced to change or confused to break his what? His ambitions. Kati wodda ku muntu ng'oyo, I'm trying to relate to what you were saying, that Kassiano Wadri needs Bobby Wine more than Bobby Wine needs him. Kassiano is a double-minded person. But if you're not patient and you don't stick to what you want, definitely you can't receive anything at the end. What he ought to do or what he ought to have done is to stick to this person that yamuyambako okumutwala wadi. Okay? Ekyokugenda mu aunt ewa General Mugisha Muntu. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't even.
For a while, by the way, Kassiano and Mugisha Muntu have been friends for a while, even when they were in FDC. And the fact that Kassiano actually was aligned to Mugisha Muntu's ideology more than Message's ideology, this didn't come as a surprise for me.
I know they both fell off from FDC. Kassiano Wadri, I think, was the first person to fall off. And then Mugisha Muntu. Yeah, it's true. They all shared the same ideologies because they both believed in party structures. But then, omuntu yirabira jiyava naye ate taba mwangu.
Well, let's move forward to the next conversation. Now, we've seen that a lot of candidates are now going to different districts all over the country. Bobby Wine, who has traversed through Arua, going to the other side of Soroti, because there are two routes to come to Kampala from Arua. The other route is coming through Kampala and coming through Karuma, Kampala, and then coming in, and the other route is Soroti, Mbale, and coming to Kampala. So Bobby Wine decided to take the other route, and he's now in Amriat and traversing eastern Uganda and seeing what he will be discussing with the people of eastern Uganda and the promises that he made that we'll be speaking about. Now, as we were speaking about the promises and the fact that different candidates have to be in different places. We have an issue right now as we're speaking. Electoral Commission is in between the NRM and the FDCs, that's His Excellency Yoweri Museveni and Amaretto Boy, because they decided to put them in one place on the same date on Tuesday. Now, the Electoral Commission is being questioned by both parties. Ngabagamba, how come we are in the same place at the same time? What were you doing when you were supposed to make sure that our dates do not collide? And the funny part is we did not have, say, NUP and, say, FDC in the same place. We have NRM and FDC in the same place. And we have known that these two groups of people are not, they have never been in the same port. Tarik.
Yeah, kyenyamiza okubanga isi etuuka mu kaseera kano ng'esobola okubanga ekola ekintu ng'ekyo. Era omwoge gundi ssaabawandiisi General Secretary wa NRM yavuddeyo nga bwe ne press yaabwe buli Sunday n'alaga nti yennyamira kuba be basooka okuba nti basubmitinga ebintu byabwe emikono na biki mu EC. Era gundi yabwe yasobola okuba ng'efuluma okuba nti babadde road map yakuba bagenda okuba nga batambulira. So ate bagenza okulaba nga kuba nti ate ku lwokubiri olw'enkya kuba lwaliwo NRM eri mu Acholi Land bali ggulu na lisesezaawo, so enkya bagenda kuba kitigumu. The same date ate ne FDC egenda kubanga ebeera mu kitundu kyekimu. So ndaba nga gundi isi olaba nti waliwo obunafu awo mukola programu yagiteekateekamu. Bayatula n'abantu baneeno bayita meeting bagamba bagiyita meeting ey'okwamunizing oba okuba nti battaanya kyegenda okubanga butya bagenda okubanga buli omu ng'atambula. Meeting eyo yavaamu biki? Bati batuuza bakandisi olunaku lulamba nga bateesa bono agenda kuyita wano gogenda kuyita wano kati banga basobola nga babayo n'ensobi ng'eno. Meeting eyo yalimu biki? So olaba nga kyabadde ate NRM yeeraga nti first ebe first come first serve kuba eraga yasooka okusubmitinga era programu yasooka okubanga efuluma kati waki ate ya FDC yajuluma teyingira mu programu yaayo so ngulaba nga balina okubanga beetereza naye nga kiri eri isu kubanga yasobola okuba twakyabakera ne wano mu kutandika omukulu Katumba candidate Katumba yalina okubanga atandikira eruwero ne NRM ate nga gyetandikira basooka nga bashiftinga ne babeera nga NRM etandikiddeyo Katumba ne bamuteeka ewala so kinira kyangu kubanga isevaayo ekole ekintu kyekimu etereze erabe ani alina okubeera mu kintu kyekimu naye neewuunya nga tukyali ku nsonga eyo bakadde sibona baki batandikidde mu regioni yo waggulu eyo waliyo ki endala empologoma 3 bwotunira NUP eri eyo FDC eri eyo NRM eri eyo ki ekiri awo?
I'm not in position to tell what exactly they should all go to those regions, but I think it's in accordance to the guidelines issued by the Electoral Commission. Electoral Commission yagaba roadmap. What candidate why no kubeera era ba DPCs bomu bitundu ebyo baweebwa manual oba roadmap kuba ino kola kyogobera kyo ojjukira lyo ebiseera I think last week General Henry Tumukunde bwe alina okubeera ekisolo DPC namugamba nti why according to the roadmap gyenina eraga nti wadde olina kubeerayo jjo so I think it's in accordance to how Electoral Commission yakiplanninga naye nze what I pick out of all whatever is going on naddala Bobi Wine gyali FDC nayo gibadde last week bolaba the kind of following because literally n'abakuuma ddembe balemeddwa controlling a crowd that is put by by Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu crowd eyo police eringa ebalemereddwa bajjeyo tear gas but people still persist ne bagamba tulina okugenda mpaka ku ground candidate wagenda okwogerera twalabyeko n'ebifaananyi nga Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu avudde mu motoka alina okudduka 15 kilometers okutuuka ku ground olw'ensonga police yadde ekoze eki eblockinze ekkubo so Chenebuza, if we can have to see that kind of crowd that is uncontrollable, what will happen in the central region?
But the question is, do crowds determine the votes?
No.
That's a very important question because we've seen the politics and elections that happen in the US, and if we think that crowds turn into voters, I think the US elections should prove us wrong.
neotagenda mu US jijukira crowd ya mama Mbabazi
and FDC the FDC crowd but none of them turned out into votes so it really
literally you're questioning the independence of the Electoral Commission.
That's not what I'm doing but what I'm saying is even the majority of people who are standing in those crowds Tabalina voters ID Tabalina national ID they're not registered voters all we know is how to shout at the end of the day. And that's why I have come on the screen every day to tell people, make sure even when you're standing and you want to see Robert Kyagulanyi and touch his car like a blessing, you have the voter's card and you're registered and you know where you're going to vote. I'm supposed to vote in Arua, and I did change the fact that I'm going to vote in Kampala. So at the end of the day, when it comes to voting, when you see that I'm not on the show, just know I have gone to exercise my rights where I registered as a voter. Now these are the confusions that we have. Latifah is in Kampala, she has registered in Arua, she hasn't changed her location of voting, and I can't go back to Arua to vote. That means I'm not going to vote. But I'm in the middle of the crowd that is shouting and telling people Kyagulanyi but at the end of the day, when we come back to what is happening with the Electoral Commission, and just answering your question, Tarik, we discussed last time about the fact that Uganda region itself is a region whereby people are well transferred, people understand politics. Now, these candidates have decided to give their roadmap to SC starting from the other side, knowing that if you want votes, because remember when people come on screen, political analysts, they will tell you, Kyagulanyi support in northern Uganda and eastern Uganda. That means that these people are important, and these people are the ones that vote. By the way, the people in town, we have to go to work in the morning, come back in the evening, we have kids to feed, we have rent. Most of us don't have time to actually go and vote, and most of us don't go and vote. But people in the northern and eastern, outside the central region, actually vote.
Let me tell you, people who vote,
fighting for the
abantu abalonda wane Uganda, beba yomuntu wa once. The so-called corporates rarely vote.
Some of us don't vote. All we do is sit on our tabs and go on Twitter and give
Latifah,
our
when did you make 18?
I actually voted. I voted
now
last
singa
time. I voted. But at the end of the day, sigena kugamba who I voted because that's what I did cast my vote. That's the most important thing. But coming back to the confusion happening in the community. The confusion is in the fact that you remember the bloodshed that was in Arua between Kassiano Wadri and Nusrat Peru. What happened on that day is when NRM was having a procession, when the opposition was having a procession, both of them met in the city center in Arua at the same time. And that is where the scuffle began. And the Electoral Commission cannot whatsoever do a mistake like that, having FDC and NRM in the same place. History is going to repeat itself. We have two people, the opposition and the NRM, coming together. Even if the members of the candidates don't fight, we're going to have the people, the supporters fight. Recently, when NRM was being nominated, we saw that in the streets, when their borders was passing, they pelted them with bottles and stones. We don't want bloodshed during the nominations, because if we have bloodshed during the nominations, what happens in the elections when we finally go out to vote? So they need to be careful. EC, as we're speaking, I know it is overwhelming to have 11 presidential candidates bring in their roadmap, and you have to approve each and every one of them, and they're not only in the center. I know it's hard, but at the end of the day, let's avoid mistakes such as this that will cause bloodshed during the time of the nominations. It's very tricky.
I think this is not a big matter that we should dwell so much on it.
Oh, I think it is. I think it is. You know why it is? If NRM tells
no, what I'm saying,
FDC will say, how are they going to sort that out?
What I'm saying, where are they meeting?
Kitgum.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Yeah.
What is the nearby district close to Kitgum?
I think from Acholi land, then you go to Kitgum. So and today President Museveni is in Acholi land. Then from there is crossing to Kitgum.
And
so
FBC is supposed to be there.
Is doing the routes from Mbale, Jinja, Soroti, and then he goes through to Arua.
What I'm trying to say, because the same scenario happened on the first day, the May Day and campaigning day, on last Monday. John Katumba was supposed to be in Luwero. At the same time that President Museveni was also supposed to be in Luwero. Only that the other one could be
we're talking about Katumba and
yes, and President Museveni. So they are not all that big lands that are going to fight what I'm trying to say,
but now FDC will say
what I'm trying to say is that at least it should be solved amicably. Until that's why I'm asking that what is the nearby district, because Katumba, what he did, he crossed to Nakasongola and Naleka President Museveni everywhere. So we can have the two, one choose to cross to the neighboring district,
I hope the choice will be made, because we're having people who have had grudges for the rest of their lives, and the FDC have built their roots from defiance, and we're hoping they don't
defy it
to make this a big deal. So it really is going to be on the candidates to decide not to make this a big deal, because the moment they make it a big deal, their voters are also going to make it a big deal. So let us have a mature kind of politics where they don't do that. But again, this comes back also to the DPCs in these different areas. They need to understand that we're all human and we err. And sometimes we can't control what happens when we are campaigning. So when they come up one morning and say, you can't come to this region because you were supposed to come here yesterday, and yet there's no candidate in that region at that time, it doesn't make sense. We already explained their issues. We saw NRM where could be a campaign in the middle of a hailstorm. It was raining cats and dogs, and they were still there and they had their campaigns. But these things happen. So they need to understand that there are some instances that we can't control what is going on, but as humans. And this is where Electoral Commission and these two candidates are going to come in. As humans, we understand these things happen. What is the way forward? Stop looking at problems. Let's look at solutions.
I don't want to see a scenario whereby stones will be pelted at the president's motorgate. Yes, I don't want to see that happening.
Begeza ne solving issue ene egenda kuba etaddewo ebibuzo bingi nti lwaki esobola okubanga solving issue ngeno ndimo kubanga solving issue zokuba nti police egaana abantu omugenda bitundu ebimu kubanga oluusi bakeereyemu kubanga obachi era olabe nga ebiseera bisinga Kyagulanyi avudde n'akaaba ti isi erina obuyinza okuba nti egana poliisi okuba nti interferinga mu kampeyini zaabwe jo twalabye omusajja yasiibye adduka ne poliisi ani Kabuleta yabadde ali Masindi ne buli obadde agenda ng'okuba olukungaana poliisi ng'embuga nedda ssebo gende badusa omujja mu tawuni baako ekifo kye bamusindikamu ekyo kyagenda okuba naye atageza okutuukayo era nga bamugamba ate ne wano tojja kukola ki so kati singa iseva ne solving ensonga eno buli kandi tagenda kwebuuza lwaki tevayo ne solving ate ku nsonga ziri endala.
But as we're speaking about the same topic, Simon Chris, because now the next one is about police coming out to say that it is time for Electoral Commission to disqualify candidates who are not following the Electoral Commission guidelines. And we were speaking to Bukenya last week. And Mr. Bukenya talked to us Nagamba, it's true what police says is actually going to be manifested. Titugenda Kola, if a candidate does not follow the rules that we put there of converging only 200 people, they're going to be disqualified. And it's the question we asked ourselves last week. Do we blame the candidates or do we blame the voters? Because we have seen instances where Robert Kyagulanyi has told his voters, don't do A, B, C, D. But we see that they are still going ahead to do it. Now, where are we going to put the separation between the candidate and the voter? Where are we going to say this is not his fault? He has addressed his voters and said, please don't come, but they have come. So the question is, how do the candidates control their voters? How do we expect them to
I think there is a movement that is uncontrollable. And that movement is geared up by a generation that is desperate for change. We have seen Bobi Wine head to the campaigning grounds several times, especially during last week. He's telling his voters, okay, to keep calm. I've seen him talk to police several times. Babuza tiagas ate mukuba wachi. Okay? Ate chinjagalako bebaza nti they've tried to maintain wherever wakubidde campaign awali tent wabera sealed and only minimum number that is required bibabera mu tent. The rest watch from a distance. So maybe that is the group that will become so hard to control. Okay? A group I'm talking about that is embedded within that movement, the NUP movement, the Kyagulanyi movement, Bobi Wine movement, that is going to become uncontrollable. You have people coming from all corners of the place, and they are converging in one place. No bakuba tear gas. You saw what happened in Mbale. Abantu babakubye tear gas. Ninga basigala bakolaki bacha agenda wabula tekyenjagala okuvumirira nti nabo ku maddembe bateekwa kimanya nti ne wankubadde nga tuli mu kaseera ka campaigns you're acting on orders naye ekyokwata tear gas kakani ka tear gas n'okasula mu motoka ya candidate ekikola tekyabadde kirungi era tukivumirira okay ne wankubadde kuba badde bagambu according to the statement released by Kyagulanyi yagambye nti yabadde acting on some orders kuba yasuddemu akakebe nadde bali and he started looking on and everyone was wondering, was that really necessary? Okay? Newankubadde nga you want to disperse the crowd nekyokwata akacupa ka tear gas n'okasula mu motoka ya candidate you don't know what could happen.
Jo nalabyeko ku issue bigana kujogamba police n'obuuza nti etandika ddi okuwoninga jo bakuteeka ku kizindalo kyabwe ekyo kimukalakasa ne bawoninga ku bantu nti bannaye temujja tugenda kukola kino naye era nga abantu nga bw'ogambye isi bwe kibanga embeera esaazi negireeta eve mu kutubuzaabuza era ngenda kukiddamu isi eve mu kutubuzaabuza abantu baavayo ne bakaaba ne bagamba nti isi bannaye mutuyambe akalumu mukongezeeyo oba kampeni musoke kale bonte mulede musoke muzite kampeni musoke tukole ki akatuka pushing kwa kiri maaso tusoke tumaze embera ya covid bwechi isi negana no tutino obusobozi kujanga tumiza wakalulu wako okasefugana no kwandika yimira obulungi bwechi banga katuse makate sana ngo tukatogenda kujjamu abantu abamu tendeda isi
there's one thing that also got me confused as we are unlocking the country nga tujensi ku muggalo okay kati noza ziringa economies ntono nnyo ezikyali ku muggalo amabaala n'ebisibe the campaigns okay nga tukyajja twali mu kaseera akazibwa ka covid-19 electoral commission neva negamba tugenda kukola ki okutegeka okulonda kati ate tujja ensi ku muggalo ate campaigns they're still limited so there's something that is not really understanding.
Era nnyo kunyamba kubanga era nange issue gye mbalina okuwa nti isi kye mbalina okuteeka webale kinyamba kugusa nsonga eyo.
You two gentlemen who are here, as we're discussing about the fact that police has said that they're going to disqualify candidates who are not following the regulations put up by Electoral Commission. Here's the question. Are we saying that Yoweri Kaguta Museveni Talina voters? Are we saying Yoweri Kaguta Museveni Talina crowd?
Crowds. So what happened in Arua?
Kubanga, we have seen that in these various places that NRM has been, Museveni has had only 70 people. My question is, how do they control that? I really want to speak to the Electoral Commission chairperson of NRM, Mbuzi. How do people control
Latifah, by inviting on Nebakulembeze, bayita obukiiko bwabwe akakiiko katwala district eyo batabane flag bearers abokitundu tulabeko nejjo abaana begundi beruweru ne haji naduli yenyini yavule naagamba Museveni campaign jakwa teriyo abavuka bironga bagamba bo bebavubuka abatufa ino kuba nti bakulembera NRM ne Museveni ejete yabala banako haji naduli ngane mwennyini agamba eyo campaign jakwa tekola ki abantu bala tebategeera
nze nabakubira tochi je tulaga
are we complaining that are we saying that because NRM is following the Electoral Commission guidelines of 7
it is not tell me following
no candidate that is following
tell me following us nyabo
apart from Uganda katutadde wote President Museveni is going to address a few people
Latifah
on the streets
Latifah
we're being unfair
no please no Latifah saga otunulire just meeting Museveni zakuba batude mu tent biche ebisookawo
what happens on his
way biche ebisookawo
so recently
biche ebisookawo yes
so what happened
there's a difference between what happens on his way and when he finally sits akachiko see
it is the same ebera kukyagulanya era n'abalala.
Well, we've seen the fact that I'm not blaming Chagulanyi.
I think Chagulanyi ekisinga okulemesa abalala ekisinga okulemesa abalala Latifah so gombize ekisinga okulemesa abalala okuba ne batuuza abantu kuba police tebakiza tuwa ku Venice bagenda kubanga batuulamu.
Well, we cannot say it has happened in all instances, Tarik. Come on, we've seen that Chagulanyi has been in some places and they let him campaign. Let's not choose.
Mirundi emeka Latifah mirundi emeka.
But it has happened where he has sat down and talked to his people. In Arua, Chagulanyi spoke to people. In Barada, Chagulanyi spoke
to people. Ku streets kwennyini.
About where he was supposed to address.
I'm trying to look for that post.
Barada is okay. Yeah, Barada is okay.
No, this is what I'm saying. We've seen that these voters have followed Chagulanyi, right? And here I'm not castigating the candidate. I'm talking about the voters. Because at the end of the day, they are going to...
I wanted to show you this.
They are going to
on the post of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni 3 days ago, to our supporters in Arua who turned up to welcome me, I am sorry for not getting out to greet you, but I insist we should keep away from gatherings.
But here's where I'm coming from. Thank you.
But they are here's
what I am saying. Here's what I am saying. You're not understanding. Here's what I am saying. But that's why I want to talk to NRM Babuzi. How do you do it?
No.
What I wanted to show you,
Tifa, this is a picture I wanted to show you. A picture where people are
producer
this is on his way to where he is going to hold his campaign of 70 people. But now, let's be fair. I'm going to come back to discussing.
This is a procession. A procession. This is a
procession we are talking about. And the challenge we are saying, Salabye koti ya gasi ya bademu Arua nga bebe
kuba being biased in the discussion. Why I'm saying we are being biased is we are talking about the fact that Museveni has been able to hold a sitting of 70 people only. Even when on his way, he has a procession, but he has been able to go to where he's supposed to hold that particular gathering with 70 people. And why can't we do that as the opposition? And here's where I am coming to say, I am not blaming the opposition candidates. Truth is they failed to control the crowd. And even if I was them, I'd fail to control the crowd. And that's why I need us to talk to NRM and find out how they do it.
They have not done it any different.
You see, when Robert Chagulanyi went to address the people in Mbarara, I'll use that as an example because he tried following the Electoral Commission guidelines of holding 70 people. And Chris, you cannot tell me they haven't tried because we've seen them hold a sitting of 70 people alone, and they've even refused to come to the point of holding 200 people. When the president was addressing media, he said, which I don't know how true it is, I'm quoting his word, he said that where I am, I can have a crowd, and he proved that in Arua. I have a crowd, it's not like I don't.
But let me, did the crowd come because of Bebe Cool or because of President Museveni?
That's why when I started this discussion, I asked you, does that mean President Museveni telling now a crowd? Now, when he was going for his nomination, were there people or not? Even if they were paid, I don't want to know. The end justifies the means. I don't want to know what happened. But did he have a crowd or not?
He had a crowd.
Right? Now, let's come back to being fair in our judgment and in our discussion. NRM has followed the guidelines. On their way, fine, they might be a crowd. But when they sit, they're organized enough to have 70 people. We have seen it. Chris, have you not seen them having
but the same has applied to NUP, the same has applied to other political parties.
Have you seen them have a sitting or not?
Latifah.
The sitting has happened to other political parties.
I have come to say I am castigating the voters, not the candidates. Mark my word. And listen to my discussion without bias, and it will help this discussion become fair.
No way.
Now, this is where I'm coming from. See, I again say I am trying to talk about the issues that happen in Mbarara because Bobby Wine was trying to hold a sitting of 70 people and trying to follow the guidelines. But we saw that his supporters came and broke the fence, never in India. They're like, we have to be part of what Bobby Wine is doing. And that's why I'm saying, I'm not castigating the candidates. I'm castigating the voters because we are going to lead to our candidate being disqualified. The more we force our way through and we say, come what may, we shall go see Chagulanyi talking. At the end of the day, there's going to be a point where they're going to say he is being disqualified. And this is where I ask the question, is si bagana kubesinga kuchi to say that this candidate has refused to follow the rules that we put forward? Because at the end of the day, it's not the candidate. It's the voters who are forcing their way through. Now, how are we going to draw the line between the candidate and the voters?
This also,
it's not easy for them to control the crowd.
Latifah ngochanenya abalonzi. Nze nzayo ku isi kyenagamye nti yali sinetefutefu kuteeka kuba bino ebintu yabimanya. Esobola ekitogeza kala Kyagulanyi new kid on the block. Buli omu ayagala okuba nti amulabako. Ekintu kyonna kyonna nga kizenga kipya. Buli muntu kandi kina buli azenga mupya mu opposition wanene abadde ne crowd. Olaba mbabaze ina crowd. Kyagulanyi mwayagala okubeera nga amulabako ssaawa zino eno. Ekyo isi yakimanya. Ekyokubiri Kyagulanyi abantu bonna abagala okuba nti abagala okuwiza information ye balina kugiwulira awo nga bamulabye. Kubanga tulaba Kyagulanyi wava mu kuba nti asinkana abantu bano balabyeko tebamukiza genda ku radio ate kandi Museveni kyakola yebulwa listen no ezimba zimugana
media ziberawo when he's addressing the crowd.
No ate media zimala omuntu Kyagulanyi Kyagulanyi azaruwa fa abalo twagala kwantulya ku bigambo byawe nyini
mutule ku the TVs that are showing
which TVs zino zigendo biraga mbale chamala ensonga zange tawe wa chance kubeera nti agenda ku radio nga Museveni wamala kati nga Acholi region agenda funa radio emwe yomu Acholi awo atulya abantu TVs radio zona zitekeke ekyo benga bamuuliza Kyagulanyi takifuna ekyokusatu bana abantu change yo balina okuba nti bamugoberera yo record yo redagirina abantu balina kyebanoonya kuba are representing the
that when Kyagulanyi was in Arua, they stopped him from accessing radios.
Mirundi nga bamugana ne gundi yabale ne program yabale ne program yabale natandika sawe bashiftinga mpaka sawa 2
naye what did he access
ate yagenzeeyo
guys look,
here's the thing, when these people go to Arua town or let me use Arua town because you used it as an example. not all the radio stations in a rural town is a government. I'll put it straight in your face.
That is
And
true.
it has to be a strategic planning on the side of the opposition. At the end of the day, they know they have support. So whether they go to the smallest radio station in a rural town, they will listen to them. So they should have sent a team prior to their campaigning. Bagendeo, Balabe, which radio station will give us access without questioning us? There are radio stations there who are anti-government, and they would have given them access. It's about proper planning, and that's one thing I've called upon all opposition people. Proper planning.
The thing is not about planning.
Where we had an issue.
Latifah, you are far away from the truth, and you are deviating from the reality. You saw what happened in Mbale. Latifah, you are deviating from the reality. You are far from the reality. Between me and you, we're on the same set and castigated police for denying Robert Chagulanyi accessing a radio station in Mbale.
Simon Chris,
okay?
let me address you on what happened.
This will lead you to the way police how they do their things.
In what happened in Mbale. The radio station in Mbale did not stop Robert Chagulanyi from addressing.
But
police.
I'm coming. I'm not running. No, they can't have Robert Chagulanyi was in Mbale that day and he was supposed to address Oshegera. But here's the problem where I come back to castigating the voters again and again. Oshegera. That day I sat on set and I said the same thing. The crowd that was waiting for Robert Chagulanyi outside that radio station was immense. And whether we want to agree it or not, roles and rules have been set. Electoral Commission has come up together with Ministry of Health to say, Tewari gathering. Or together, why didn't we start from a position of fighting that particular law before we go into elections and defy them? Now, the thing about police is police do not form those laws. We have to understand. The police are people who enforce the law that has been set.
I'm looking at
now,
police.
This law has been set. People in Bali, I want to address, because where I'm turning to Chris, Tarik, Chris came up with a position of what happened in Bali. Now, police saw the crowd that was waiting for Chagulanyi at that time. Now, the story started when they're dispersing the crowds. At the end of the day, we've seen that police has used tear gas to disperse the crowds. I'm not saying it's right, but for them, they believe that is the only way to disperse the crowds. And I told you, if these voters had stayed at home, because people have access to radios. Sirina radio, my friend, my neighbor Chris, Nsala Murizeku, Robert Chagulanyi Kubanga, we don't want to stop. Because I am imagining a session where these people decided that we are not going to stand in the streets and see, he's going to be on a radio station and see Robert Chagulanyi. Let's let him go and address. Police wouldn't have a reason to stop Robert Chagulanyi from going to that radio station.
The hardest thing to do, and you defend people who are not even willing to change. Njagala kulaba police olunaku lumu nga bwe yakwata Patrick Amuri atoboy ne mujje najja nankumbi ne mutwala straight ku ekyambogo awali nominations. Njagala police lumu esobola okukwata Bobi Wine ne mujje waka ne muwerekera mpaka ekyambogo awali nominations. Why would it what kyali kizibu nnyo okuwerekera Bobi Wine okumutwala mu radio station gyalina okwadressinga amidst the crowd that is uncontrollable? That is
Latifah, bekanako tugamba, let's stop this game of lamenting. Tufanyike solution. Tukize tugane Bobi Wine ne wanaita tanka ne wanaita zimegi aina crowd. Njo nalabye instance nga omusajja omwana omukyala ayambadde red police nge bagoba netuka no kubamba mujene moto police ne musinga ne moto ne mukyala nalemerawo nagamba we want Bobi Wine kibatu soko issue dala ngero learn how to control abantu bano controlling
how are you calling upon them
abantu episode ebisinga abantu Bobi ne Bobi nje statement yagikoze era ngalaga nti baba ne dembe bonga bo balaga sanyo nga batambula basakanya slogans zaabwe police netako ku bantu yoye bakyokoza bakomutega abantu abo bakume bareke batambule.
But here's
the thing. I
want you people to listen. Listen and understand. Do not just hear what I'm saying.
There's nobody listening.
I already told you, police is meant to enforce the laws. They did not create the laws. They told them that laws are... See, one of the reasons that police arrest the people it does is because there's a constitution.
You know, I'm looking at you like this.
There's a reason why they enforce it. Because there's already a law.
You're putting yourself in a hot spot.
Latifah,
and you're
cool.
defending people.
Latifah.
I'm not defending them.
Bebe cool kusasira bakuze position bakubade moronga ba big eye nga bakubye batambula n'abantu awo amateeka tegavuddeyo nga tegavuddeyo amateeka.
What the two of you are mistaking my conversation for. I'm not defending NRM. I'm not defending...
Literally, you're defending.
You're defending the police.
Listen, I'm not defending the police. This is what I'm saying, okay? I have come on this set before and said that I castigate the police for being partisan. Haven't I said that before? I have, right? And I have come back to say that the Electoral Commission has put guidelines of 200 people. So whether it's NUP, FDC or NRM, the police needs to do what it ought to do to make sure that the rules, the guidelines that have been set by Electoral Commission are followed. Whether it's NRM or not.
Latifah, English
this is where I say, I know where you're coming. And this is where I have said, what is good for the Uganda is not good. Now, what I'm saying here is the fact that we have all agreed that there will be a seating of 200 people, right? We, the opposition, have failed to control our people. And by the time police comes to disperse the crowd, it's because our crowd is more than 200 people. Now, what I'll call upon the police is, as we are dispersing the crowds that the NUP has formed, which is right, because there's a law that has been put in place that needs to be enforced. The same needs to be done with who? NRM. When they have a crowd that is above 200, it needs to be controlled and they need to be dispersed.
Now you're speaking.
That is where, and why I'm saying, the reason why we are not having a conversation that is fair is because the two of you are looking at castigating the police for not doing their job. But all I am telling
No, we're only castigating them for being partisan.
Partisan.
Yes.
And what I am saying, can we stop basing the discussion on that and look at the reality on ground? A rule has been bent for everybody to follow. And we, the opposition, have failed to control our crowds, and our crowds have failed to control themselves. We cannot say NRM has failed. It's only the instance in Arua where the musicians were there that the crowd was there all the way through. But I am talking about what I have seen about Museveni having a sitting of only 70 people. I'm only talking about what I see. He has a sitting of 70 people, and none of the opposition people have been able to hold such a sitting.
But we've seen it all over. We've seen Robert Chagulanyi hold sittings. Campaign. The place is all sealed up.
When I'm talking of the sitting, I'm talking about the sitting of the 70 people. And now
Latifah, Chagulanyi po watebakiza natwa kuvenza bagendako ne bayimira ku street ne baliko ku addressingira abantu ku street.
And that is why
that
is why I have come to the point of saying I'm not castigating the candidates of NUP and FDC. I am talking about the voters who have failed to let their candidates follow the SOPs. And here's the question. We can run and hide and shout and do whatever we're going to do, but there has been a rule of 200 people and police will enforce it come what may. And what I'm calling upon is for the police to enforce it, even in the NRM. But at the end of the day, I will tell you one thing. We're going to reach at a point where we're going to have our candidates disqualified because we're not letting them hold a sitting of 200 people. It's not impossible.
You see it?
But it's because we think that being there is what counts. Chagulanyi having a crowd doesn't count. Trump had a crowd. It doesn't count. It's about the voting, the day of casting that vote.
One person was asking me a question, and let me tell you, being a journalist, you become a spokesperson to so many organizations. One person asked me a question, Nangamba, are they using COVID-19 as a leeway okuyisa away byabwe? Ningamba katono muddemu nki ne mugambe kitufu kiri nti COVID-19 wali, and people are dying on a daily and cases are rising every single day. Okay, simanyi obeera yagala okuyisa awe ekiche, but COVID-19 is in existence era tulina okuteeka okumaintaininga SOPs ezatuweebwa ekitongole ky'ebyobulamu okulaba nga tukola ki tuziiza abantu obutafuna COVID-19. wabula ekyo ne mugamba sina kyemmanyi.
Talking about COVID-19.
Olina chomani, Simon Chris. The reason why or take a dua to know what is happening
No, simanyo beri abakozesa
your
COVID-19
answer should have
okuyisa
been,
which
as
child?
a journalist and the person who is supposed to pass the information should have been, COVID-19 is in existence.
That's what I told him.
But we have individuals who are flaunting the COVID-19 measures.
I have no evidence to that.
Despite when I sit on screen and speak, I'm speaking about things that are seen, things that the media has brought to our attention, things that we have brought to the attention of the people. The fact that there are individuals in government who have actually held crowds even when there's COVID-19. They've flaunted those measures. And because they are flaunted, we're not going to say NRM has flaunted those measures. And even if NRM has flaunted those measures, does the opposition also need to flaunt because NRM has flaunted? Can we stop playing an eye for an eye and see that we're protecting the lives of the voters that are going to cast those votes? So at the end of the day, when people say the government and the EC is using COVID-19 to kuisa what they want, no. I will say it straight in front of my eyes, and I will say that COVID-19 is in existence. I will look at people straight in the eye and say COVID-19 is in existence. We have individuals in government who are making it seem like COVID-19 is not in existence, but nobody said we should follow suit and do what they do. There are individuals in government who are corrupt. But that doesn't mean the whole system is corrupt. There are individuals in STV who are bad, but that doesn't mean the whole of STV is bad. We need to learn a culture in our country where we pick these individuals instead of castigating the whole system. It helps.
Well, even if we pick them out, we never know where they will go. The first show takes a very short break, and we will return with lots of more other stories, including the international bets with Adams Membala.
You're watching STV, select for fun.
One step into the country and you will know Uganda is a magical destination. Perfect description of nature reflected on its natural way of life. But beyond the description is much more for you to discover. The culture, the religions, the wildlife, the nature, and oh, don't forget the food. I'm gonna give you an exciting adventure discovering the hidden beauty in your country. Travel on Tarik with me, Genesis, as I give you an essential guide to whatever or wherever it is that you want to visit. Catch me every Friday at 9:30 only on STV.
Abalamuzi babagamba, if the incumbent president frustrates all democratic means to leave power, temusibayo muntu n'omu kutwiza. This is why Besigye is released. Museveni ekibi kyalina talina mawulire. Nawandika n'ekitabo kyange, the role of which could have been a malicious society. Sapule njijjamu.
Noyingire sabo.
Katonda wa bujja. Nze Katonda w'obujja. Bw'oba olaga eri, sapule togitwala. Omusajja omubbi bamujja ewuwe ewaka kabanga lyezi ne bamujja ewuwe ewaka yabadde mu ttooyi naye tebamukkiriza na tusanitize bamutadde butesi mu piikaavu ba mu state house naye omukyayina bwe yawulidde nti ono bamukutte yeesiize kiwi yayitiddeko yadduse ng'omuddugavu.
DJ DJ Lennox. Alright, it's a vibration, and I want to say, Walla, welcome to the future of entertainment. The big boys are right on your television.
Every Monday to Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. And we show you chasinzo kubera neva superstar bakabi.
Injagala tukola mobili bidati. Amisi.
Do dati.
Cafe banga, 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 banga. And don't miss out on the exclusive one-on-one interviews, what is trending on social media.
And this is 100 degrees to the world. Chonna choyagala tuchikuba.
Lennox CJ right on the ones and twos, on the wheels of silver doubles. And hey, remember, this is 100 degrees.
Hey guys, you're watching STV. Select for fun.
Very good morning. Mwebala amachama lungi onaje musinzidde okubanga mulaba STV enkuba yakedde kutonya era yonna bonna abeera mu ntobazi twongera obbakubiriza nti bambi mwesege ebifo musobole okubanga mufuna ebifo ebirala gye mubeera olw'ensonga nti obulamu bwe businga buli kimu kyonna kye muyina. Amannya nze Adams Mayambala era ng'ennaku z'omwezi zo ziri 16 omwezi tukyali mu gwa Museenene. Mu lulimi olwaffe Oluganda oba luli olulimi olunyanyimbe baguyita November oba egwe 11 ndowooza mulabe omwaka gudduse, omwaka mulamba gwonna gubaddemu COVID-19 gudduse. So abadde ayagala okwekolera mu mwaka guno kyonna ky'obadde ayagala okukola teweekwasa COVID-19 genda maaso n'okubanga okikola. Abantu bakoze ebintu bingi eri abafunyemu ssente mu mwaka guno gwennyini. So embeera bwetyo bweri wabula njagala mbatwaleko ebweru w'eggwanga era saagala batwala wala nnyo mu ggwanga wano erya Ethiopia mu mambuka wano Kenya balina ensalosalo n'eggwanga ly'e Kenya sayidi awo tebali wala. Eyo olunaku lwadde lwa 6 abantu abawera ddala 34 battiddwa nga bwe tukimanyi mu ggwanga eryo wabaluseewo obutabanguko ndowooza kati ziweze sabbiiti nga 2 balina enkaayana mu ggwanga erya Ethiopia. Era olunaku lwadde lwa 6 bayimiriza bbaasi mu bukiikakkono bw'eggwanga eryo oba mu west eyo ne baba nga basse abantu abawera ddala 34 wabula nga waliwo obweraliikirivu nti omuwendo guno gwali eyongera olw'ensonga nti wabaddewo obutabanguko era mu kitundu ekyo kyennyini wabaddewo ngawo abantu nga battibwa gye buvuddeko mu bbanga ttono nnyo. Ate nga mu mambuka eyo waliyo ekitundu ekimanyiddwa nga Tigray, eyo naye waliyo obutabanguko nga bano balina obukubagano wakati wa gavumenti ey'omu masekati nga bwe tumanyi nti eggwanga lya Ethiopia eryo liri ku federal government. Abaffe wano gye bakayanira ennyo bali ku nfuga ya federal nga bwolaba eggwanga lya America ebitundu bigenda mu maaso n'okubanga byefuga byokka wabula nga biri ku gavumenti eyawamu emanyiddwa eba federal state yebakulembera naye ng'ebitundu ebyenjawulo byekulembera. Kati wabaddewo obukuubagano ng'ekitundu ekyomumambuka ekya Tigray tekikwatagana na gavumenti eno eri mu masekkati ya Ethiopia egenda maaso n'okufuga eggwanga lyonna okuva omukulembeze oyo prime minister amanyiddwa nga Abiy Ahmed bwe yajja mu mwaka gwa 2008 tebannaba kutereera olw'ensonga waggwanga ddala eggwanga lya Tigray eryo eriri mu mambuka lyeribadde nga lifuga eggwanga eryo lyeriri mu magye lyerifuga eggwanga eryo ebiseera biwanvu nnyo okuva we batta omwami oyo bamujja ku bukulembeze Emperor Haile Selassie mumumanyi nnyo abarasita. Kati eggwanga eryo lyeribadde nga lifuga wabula kati bakyusaamu obukulembeze ng'omwami oyo Abiy Ahmed ava mu ggwanga eryaba Oromo era ng'eggwanga eyo liri mu masekkati eggwanga like a tribe liri mu masekkati mu nsi eyo mwennyini nnyini. Kati obutabanguko obwo buzze bubaawo era mu mambuka y'abajaasi eggwanga lya Tigray mu mambuka awo balina obukuubagano ne mu masekkati nga bwe mbagambye era balina amagye engeri gye bali nti beefuga balina amagye geeyo obutabanguko buzze bubaawo abantu bangi battiddwa wabula tebannabakakasa oba abantu bano abattiddwa balina beekuusa n'ekyabaddewo oba n'enkaayana ezigenda mu maaso mu ggwanga eryo wabula nga kyo kyakakasiddwa nti abantu 34 basi yayimiriziddwa abantu abatamanyiddwa nga bannamagye balina emmundu ne bakwata abantu abo ne babakuba amasasi ne babattirawo. Abalala bagendedde ku bisago nga balina obweraliikirivu nti omuwendo guno gwali eyongera naye nga bwegambye tebannabakikakasa oba obukubagano obuli mu ggwanga lya Ethiopia bwavuddeko kino wabula era nga twalabye abali mu mambuka wa Tigray bakubye emyezi ne zidda mu ggwanga erya Eritrea eririraanyeewo era nga byekuusa ku obukubagano buno obuli mu masekkati mu ggwanga eryo. Naye nga obukubagano bwatandika nga ndowooza ennaku z'omwezi October omwaka omwezi gwe tuwakakuba emabega ennaku z'omwezi 12 era nga abantu 15 bo balekebwa nga bafu bubadde bugenda mu maaso era mbadde ngambye baleetere mabegakaawo wabula nga bwe gambye tebannaba kulaba oba kino kyavudde ku ekyo tewannabaayo kabinja konna kavaayo kwewaana nti abantu abo fa babasse naye nga obukubagano bubaddewo mu masekkati g'amawanga ago oba mu mambuka ne mu masekkati bubadde buleesewo bweraliikirivu nti bayinza okufuna civil war oba civil unrest obukubagano wakati w'amawanga mu ggwanga lya Ethiopia era nga beeraliikirivu nti bisobola okweyongera mu ggwanga lyonna so kati tekinnaba kumanyika nti kiyimiridde kitya naye nga bwe gambye kizze kibaawo era omwami ono okuva we yajja mu buyinza Abiy Ahmed mwaka gwa 2018 tebazzeemu kutereera olw'ensonga waliwo amateeka ge baakola ye ge yakola nga Ssaabaminisita mu ggwanga eryo abaamambuka nga bo tekibakolera so nga ate gavumenti eno yebafuga kati essaawa zino bali mu kulwanagana masekkati g'amambuka n'amaserengeta tujja kuba tukuleetera ebisingawo mu ggwanga erya Ethiopia naye ng'abantu abasinga kati batandise okuva mu Ethiopia nga bambuka badda mu Sudan okunoonya obubuddamu olw'ensonga bo baagala kwabulira ekyo ekibambula ekiyinza otuukawo mu ggwanga eryo olw'ensonga amawanga ago bwe batandika okulwana agubula asala kati abantu batandise okuyingira mu Sudan ndowooza ne waffe eno bajja kutuuka era yemubalaba temubagoba olw'ensonga mu ggwanga lyabwe ebintu si birungi n'akamu okulwana kw'omu ggwanga mu masekkati g'amawanga kye kintu ekyasinza okuba ekyettabbu mu nsi twalaba ekyali e Rwanda mu 94 twalaba eri mu bajju abantu bangi abazze balwana okulwana kw'omunda mu ggwanga kubi nnyo n'okusinga okulwana kw'amawanga nti oba Uganda ne Rwanda oba Kenya kuba kubi nnyo abantu bangi bakafiiramu ate olutalo lugenda okuggwa nga teri awangudde so balagazibwa kusingako wano nze Adams Mayambala mubeere n'olunaku olulungi.
Hey guys, you're watching STV. Select for fun.
The news has literally become sack-click for what happens in Gulu, Mbale, Kampala and elsewhere is the same. My job is to tell the story on what happened, where, who did it, how they did it, and probably why they did it. Join me every single weekday as I break down those big stories that make rounds of headlines only on Select News. With me, Simon Chris Makanga.
You're watching STV. Select for fun.
Welcome you to this segment of Select Business on the Fast Show. And of course, it's the very reason I wake up early to come before your screens and take you through what's happening in the financial world and the business world in general, looking at the economic performance. Among others, what are the different moves that government is taking in as far as empowering the economy and the business sector is concerned? Well, today we're going to be looking at the banking sector, particularly Bank of Uganda and the winding up of Crane Bank, but also the tightening of access to loans and credit in the country, that's in the financial world. But also we do look at the story of the ban of importation of poultry products by the Ministry of Agriculture and what it does hold. What are the various issues that are emerging? Well, I'll start from the financial and the banking sector. That is particularly Bank of Uganda, the story of liquidation and winding up of Crane Bank affairs and the various emerging factors in this particular story under Section 99, Subsection 1 and Subsection 2 of the Financial Institutions Act 2004. Well, Bank of Uganda did come out and stated categorically, that's about 2 days back on Twitter, that all the business of Crane Bank and in the banking sector had actually been wound up. That means that Crane Bank will be packing bags off the banking sector in the country. Well, lawyers did come out and warn of the repercussions by this particular move by Bank of Uganda, that it would actually cost a taxpayer more money if Crane Bank, of course, Crane Bank has been battling the cases in court here and there, but what are the repercussions? What are the financial impacts to the taxpayer? Lawyers have warned that it could actually cost the taxpayer more money if these cases not well looked into and well examined before the ultimate move is being taken. Well, then we do move on to the tightening of access to credit. Well, the access to loans has been a long debate, and of course we know that commercial banks have been putting their interest rates high and making it a little bit hard. But if you look at the Bank of Uganda's statement that did come out throughout the pandemic, they did also indicate that the access to credit would actually be tightened even further. Look at long-term loans, short-term loans, but also household loans. It might be harder, even more harder in the times to come to access credit. Looking at the financial indications here on paper, well, I'll be moving on swiftly to our next story, which indicates that the government of Uganda actually did impose a ban on the importation of poultry and poultry products from 10 countries. Well, the 10 countries did include China and Netherlands, which did suffer the implications of this ban first. The ban on these 10 countries and the importation of poultry and poultry products was as a result of the highly pathogenic avian influenza, the HPAI. That's as per the announcements from the Ministry of Agriculture. Well, it seems like the COVID-19 pandemic has not been a one-off in the health sector that is going to be affecting business. Here's another story that indicates a ban on poultry products from 10 countries, 10 foreign countries, including China and Netherlands. Well, we shall not be receiving any poultry products, including name eggs or chicken, whatever it is that we've been getting from these countries. And of course, maybe it does also explain the recent operation on street-sold poultry products, chicken and stuff like that has been made on the streets. The operation, we did see last week a move by government to see that these products can be seized and probably examined until we're very sure that the public is safe and these particular products are actually also safe for consumption. Well, I'll be straight away moving on into our financial updates as I do wind up the financial updates this morning. We shall move on to the exchange rates and how the currencies are performing this morning. Looking at the chart on your screen there, the United States dollar on top there, which is being bought at 3,648 and sold at 3,765. And of course, the pound, the United Kingdom pound there is next, which is bought at 4,755 and sold at 4,930. And down, moving on to the regional spectrum, the Kenyan shilling is bought at 32.70 and sold at 34.70. The euro is bought at 4,289 and sold at 4,464, and at the bottom is the Tanzanian shilling, which is bought at 0.43 and sold at the same, sold at 0.63 there. Well, that's all that we had for you on the financial updates, with the exchange rates coming last. The last story on the importation of poultry products, I will comment a little bit on the macroeconomics grounds and what I know and what implication it would have on the economy. It perhaps does present with it an opportunity for a boost of the poultry sector in the agricultural sector in the country internally, because it's very, very important, Uganda being an agricultural country, to boost our agriculture first before looking at importation of any other agricultural products. So of course it's a ban, and then of course we do know in literature that every crowd has a silver lining, and perhaps this is a silver lining for the poultry sector in the agricultural sector of the country, to boost their market, to see that we can utilize our market, also to invest more in it. The fact that the market is going to grow, considering that the external market has been cut off. So this is a time for you to ride on that, to take advantage of that market and see that you can benefit from that with this ban that was imposed by the Ministry of Agriculture until further notice. Well, the tip I can have for you as I do conclude is about habit building. We know that building a habit can take some time, between 18 days to 200 days. So depending on how fast you are and how determined you are with building that particular habit. Habits are built with small instances, or you take small doses to build the habit. If you do it today, you try doing it again. I'll take an example of maybe savings or even a workout in the morning. If you trying to build that habit can be a little bit challenging in terms of being consistent, but it's very important that if you're trying to build a habit, you surround yourself with a few things, or a few reminders. If you're in your bedroom, you put a chart in front of your bed. If you're in your kitchen, you put a reminder, or put an alarm in your phone. Several reminders here and there, so they can help you build that habit that you look forward to building, and you intend to establish and materialize in your daily routine. Well, my name is Elijah Tuyagwanawe, and I do appreciate your audience this morning on the Financial Updates, on the first show particularly. Thank you very much for keeping it STV, and I encourage you to stay, because we have loads in the package for you.
Hey guys, you're watching STV. Select for fun.
At exactly 8:45 p.m. East African Standard Time, join me, Elijah Tuyagwanawe, putting focus on current affairs, be it political, social, or economic news. We shine a spotlight on our beautiful Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, providing information that is age-cutting here on STV with select news.
You are welcome to the High School Apprentice Season 1, Facing the Future.
I'm Lubega Mahad.
Bilisa Morris.
And I'm really excited to join the High School Apprentice, and I'm looking forward to winning.
Buyajja natugamba nti bajja kujja batukime. Era nensanyuka nnyo okulaba nti mujja okumukima.
The next task, it's more of a sports task. You're in the boardroom. You know what that means. One of you is going home.
Do not speak of 1,000. It is 2,000. Do not speak of 1,000.
We've messed up. We've been selling at a lesser price.
I'll start off with you.
Hey guys, you're watching STV. Select for fun.
Staying with us up to this moment, and this is where we're going to say goodbye and hopefully see you tomorrow with different other issues on what is trespassing in our country, Uganda. Now, my name is Latifah Hamid, Latifah Hamid 23 on Instagram and Latifah Hamid 3 on Twitter. Take care of yourself and Obulu Tebutwaula.
Kibadde kya bbeeyi okuba ntubadde nammwe abadde batugobera mwenna, era nange mbasiibula mu kaseera kaneeno. Naye nga sinasiibula ngenda kuba nga mbajugiza nti bannaaye covid gyali mu ggwanga, era nga ne weekend ne twafiiriddwako omukyala Watongola abadde MP incumbent wa Kamuli municipality yafudde, naye nga muli government yavudde lwa covid. Naye mbasaba tubeere nga twekuuma, ate twongere okuba nga tukola, kubanga eggwanga lyaffe liraga abantu nga bakozi abavubuka. Twongere okuba nga tuyiwa omubiri tuyiwawo, naye nga tuyiwawo nnyo omubiri okwesa obwongo okusinga emibiri gyaffe. Ngenda kubanga nebaza bonna bali batugoberera, abamukyala, Mama Rama, Mama Krisi, Mama Barungi, mwenna mbalaba mubaddeko omubiri nga mutulaba, ndewoza okuba nti mubaddeko era nga musigale kubanga mutulabiranga ddala, kubanga STV eriwo okubaweza okuba tuza ku bintu byonna temutegedde. Tarik Nkata gemanya omukama bakuumi.
Wow, naye kanegate kuba nange mbere nga tuberekereza ninga njalo baka kasanti mubadde balayi balungi. Okujja kunga sinaba kuva wano njagala okubira omulanga eri abonna abalina ebibiina eby'enjawulo bye muwagira. Bw'obeera ng'oli wa NRM okujja ne twogera ebyo ebiremeddwa okukolebwako tekitegeeza nti we are biased. N'aba NUP oba opposition, when we talk about the fact that mwetaaga okweddako ku mpisa zammwe naddala okuli okuvuma oba okuyisa obubi obwotakkiriziganya naye, ekyo tekitegeeza nti we are biased. Okay? Tuba twogera amazima agali in black and white, buli omu gaba ng'alabirwako nti bw'oyogera ky'otayagala oli abatakola takwagala. My name is Simon Chris Makanga. May the good Lord of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob be with you until we meet tomorrow. For now, it's a good morning.